Joined by Dmitry Babich, a Russian political analyst at the Voice of Russia. He's joining us live from Moscow for the very latest on this. Dmitry Babich, thanks very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. Now, Sergei Shoigu has been a close aide of Putin for over a decade. Why has he been replaced now? How much of this has to do with the war in Ukraine, and how much of this could be because of the Prigozhin mutiny?
Well, first, I would like to point your attention to the fact that Sergei Shoigu has been the defense minister for 12 years. That's a lot. Obviously, to create a new army, to make a reform, you need a fresh view, you need a fresh person. And believe me, I interviewed Shoigu many times. He is a very good administrator, but he is not an intellectual. He usually works on concrete problems, solving them. You probably know that for many years he was the head of emergency ministry, basically dealing with floods and various technical disasters. And modern war, it is not just a battle as it used to be in the old times. It is a competition of economists, and it's a competition of intellects. In that sense, the person proposed by Putin, he has not yet been approved by the parliament, but Putin's proposal is Andrei Belousov, an economist and a real intellectual. The reason why Belousov was preferred, I think, as you rightly said, it is connected to the Ukrainian war. Look, on the battleground, the picture is mixed. Obviously, Russia did not manage to win in the next few months, as it probably hoped in 2022. But economically, Russia resisted the Western sanctions very well. And that was the achievement of Belousov. He was the deputy prime minister, basically responsible for preparing Russia for this decoupling from Western economies, which unfortunately occurred. So we didn't feel the economic impact of Western sanctions, at least, for example, the lives of most of the people in the big cities did not change. That's a huge achievement. So in that sense, Belousov was just kind of more successful than Shoigu. So Putin is showing that personal friendships aside, he judges his subordinates by the results. The result of Belousov is more impressive than the result of Shoigu.
Right, so you're essentially saying that the need at the moment is for an economist as a defense minister, given the cycle of the war, with sanctions and the economy playing an important role. Many have also said that there's been, a lot of untrained military staff going into this war, which has been technically called like a meat grinder. So I go back to the question of how much of this has to do with the recent debacles in the Russian military, especially with the Prigozhin war, a mutiny as well, where they said, Prigozhin himself said that Sergei Shoigu was stopping advanced weapon systems to be given because of bureaucratic control to the military personnel who were fighting the war, and therefore the Russian side had many setbacks in the war.
Well, let's first make it clear that defense minister is not someone who actually leads the troops and decides what kind of tactics are going to be used. Defense minister, his function is to have all of the system operating, to provide the link between the military industry and the front and the acting army. And I wouldn't say that Shoigu was not at all successful. You probably, even if you read the Western press, which is usually very critical of Russia, still Russia provided enough drones, enough tanks, certainly enough artillery and munitions to oppose an army supported by all the Western countries. You know that the West spent hundreds of billions of dollars on making Ukrainian army battle ready. So in that sense, I would not call Shoigu a failure. But you are right, it's a meat grinder. Unfortunately, it's a meat grinder on both sides. The Ukrainian side is also sending a lot of experienced soldiers. And I think the losses on that side are certainly bigger because for every Russian shot, they only, for every 7 Russian shots, they only fire 1. So basically, Shoigu was not a failure. But obviously, after 2 years, and after 2 years of war, and after 12 years heading the ministry, probably you really need someone with a fresh air, with fresh view on how things should be done. And of course, there is some resistance from the military people who are usually conservative, who usually get used to someone of their own. But I must tell you, by his education, Shoigu was not military. He is a construction engineer by education, and he became defense minister as a civilian person. So little by little, he became very close to the military. The military people love him. But obviously, sometimes the wars are won by civilian military ministers who are not military themselves, but who can provide that link between economy and the front.
All right, Dmitry Babich, thanks very much indeed for joining us with your thoughts there. A top aide, a close aide of the Russian President Vladimir Putin has now been replaced by an economist as the defense minister. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.